Welcome back, guys. In this class we're going to study about Python functions. And as we know that, so every programming language has functions and methods. So Python also has functions. So what is basically function? A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. So a block of code which will not execute until unless we call that function. So you can pass a data known as parameter. So we can also give some user defined data into a functions, and this user defined data is called as parameters or arguments. A function can return data as a result. So now we are going to discuss about calling a function. Like, what is calling a function? To call a function, use the function name followed by the parenthesis. So the block of code inside the function will not execute or will not show the output until unless we called it. And this is what we call as calling a function. So now let's jump to the code editor and see how we can declare a function and how we call it. Okay guys, right now I am in code editor and I'm going to declare here a function. So its syntax is we use here def keyword. So def stands for definition. So def, and then here we can give the name of our function. It could be any name, like I am using here my func, just to show that this is a function, right? And now I'm typing here a block of code which is like print hello world, and then again print Python language, right? So now let's run it, see whether it is working or not, whether it is giving us the output or not. The program runs successfully, but there is no output. Why? This is because we haven't called our function. So let's call the function name. So what is the function name? This is the name of the function. Let's move outside of the function. Right now we are inside the function and we are in the indented block of code. So I'm moving outside of the function. So right now I'm not a part of function. So here I can call my function. So my simple, just my func. This is how we can call a function. So now let's run and see whether it is working or not. So you can see here, it is showing us the desired output, which is hello world and Python language. So this is the block of code actually. So the basic purpose and the main benefit of function is that we can reuse its code many times as we want. So let's see, I can call this function many times, func, and it will not give us any error. So just copy this and paste it and paste it. And let's run this. So hello world Python language, hello world, hello world. So we are reusing its data, we are reusing its code as we want. So this is the main benefit of function in any programming language. Okay guys, let's move on. Arguments, like what are arguments in Python language? So information can be passed into function as arguments, right? So any information that we pass into the function in between the parentheses, we call them as arguments. So arguments are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. So you have to make sure that all your arguments should be inside the parentheses. And you can add as many arguments as you want, just separate them with a comma. This is the description of the syntax of argument, that how we can declare many syntax in between the parentheses just by separating with comma. So what is the difference between parameters or arguments? So the term parameter and argument can be used for the same thing, the information that are passed into the function. So I'll explain like what are parameters and what are arguments, right? So let's jump into the code editor and do some examples of arguments in functions. So end this show and okay guys, so right now in my coding editor and now we are going to perform some examples of arguments. So arguments are very simple and we can pass all the arguments in between these parentheses. And so first of all, I am giving it two arguments like f name, which is first name, and we can separate them by comma, and then L name. So both of these arguments are separated by comma. So we can pass some other arguments and we can separate them by comma. So now let's remove these extra calling of function and remove this string as well. Now I just want to pass the two arguments, which number one is father name and first name and the last name. So here I want to print the first name. So just your first name and type here f name and then print your last name and do the same thing, comma l name, right? It will not print anything, simply just it is actually giving us error, which is type error. My function two missing required positional arguments, f name and l name. So we have not passed the values of f name and l name in our function calling. So now what we have to do, we have to pass here two strings for first name and for last name. So what I'm doing here, I am just passing here John and then comma. Same thing, we have separated both these arguments by comma, so we are separating both the values by comma as well. So these are string type, so we are giving here the string type values. So as simple as that, John and Alex, simply, and just make them capital, right? So now I am going to tell you like what is the difference between arguments and parameters. So these are called arguments and these are called parameters. So the values we pass in the function at the end of the program are called parameters, as these are parameters. And the values or the variable we passed in the parentheses are called as arguments. So now let's run this program and now it will execute successfully. So as you can see here, your first name John, your last name Alex. This is the example. So this is the simplest concept of arguments and parameters, and I'm trying to make it as simple as I can for you. So let's move on and do some other examples. Now return values in Python, like return values in function. So what is return value? To let a function return a value, use the return keyword or return statement. For example, this is how we declare a function. So def my function and x, return 5 multiplied by x. So this is how we can return any function. And let's do this. So this is a very interesting example, so let's do this. Do an example of return function. Just remove this, def my func, and I'm just giving here an argument which is x and then return statement. This is a keyword as you can see here, and 5 multiplied by x. So what is the next step? We just have to call the function myfunc, and now we have to pass the parameter or the value of this x in this function, otherwise it will simply throw us an error. So I am just passing here 4 or 2. I'm just passing here 2. So 5 multiplied by 2 is equals to 10. So now let's run this program and see the final output. Okay, so it is actually not printing anything. I made a mistake, which is I have to use here like print statement as well. If I will not use this print statement, then how will it print this output? So print my function 2 and just change the value over for the next. Just copy this and then paste it, and now change the value to 5. So first answer will be 10 and the second answer will be 25. So now let's run this, and first answer is 10 and second is 25, because 5 multiplied by 2 is equals to 10 and 5 multiplied by 5 is equals to 25. So this is how we can use return statements. So now let's move on. Okay, so we can also pass a list as an argument. So def my function and food, as we simply pass an argument. For x in food, print x. And then we passed here like fruits, apple, banana, cherry. My function fruits. So let's do this example as well. And it will help you to make your concept clear. So simply, I am just passing here food or fruit. Now I am using the for loop. So for x in food, print x. Okay, right now I am declaring a variable which is fruits, and I am passing here a list. So the fruits can be like apple, banana, and cherry, right? So now let's call this function myfunc and pass this list in that, so which is fruits. Let's see whether it's working or not, and then I'll explain how this function is working. So this is the output, which is apple, banana, and cherry. So what is actually going on in program? So first of all, we have passed here an argument which is food. So for x in food, print x. So this x is a variable name, and it will iterate through this list. So what is fruit? So we have just declared here a list of fruits, and then we pass this list into the function call, and now this food contains this list of fruits. And then for x in food, so x now contains the apple. So for x in food, so for which now the value of x is apple, and then print x. So it has printed here apple. Now the for loop is its on second iteration. Now the value of x is banana, and then print x. So the banana is the answer, or banana is printed over here. So right now cherry, so print x. So we have cherry over here. So this is how we can pass the list in Python. So this is how we can work with functions and list at the same time. Okay guys, so that's it for today. I hope you understand this lecture. I tried to explain and cover most of the things about functions in Python language. So let me recall this function. A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. So first we have to call the function, and then it will execute the block of code. Otherwise it will not print or execute anything. You can pass data known as parameters into the function. So we have do this example already, and we passed arguments and parameters into the functions. A function can return data as a result. So we have also used the return statement in one of our examples. And this is how we can call a function. We can call a function by its name followed by the parenthesis, right? So this is the information about arguments, that how we can pass arguments and what's the difference between the parameters and arguments. So I have tried to make this concept clear, like the I'm going to show you. So this is called as argument. This x is called as argument, and or this food is called as argument, but this fruit is called as parameters. So the variable we pass at the declaration of the function is called argument, and the value we pass at the function call is called parameter. So I hope you have get this point. So that's it for today. See you in the next lecture.